What up, Trace? Can you hear me? All right. I think technology's back.
Let's go.
It is back.
We're here.
Better than ever. Man. Let's see what we got here, Nick. I'm laughing at your text. Just funny.
Yeah, you gotta let me know when we're not gonna go. We're not gonna go full wide, man. I gotta clean my couch off. I look like a bum out here, man.
I don't know if people care, Nick. Do people care? I don't think people care.
Probably not. Probably not. My wife cares. She's gonna be like,
well,
you slob, you know?
I guess, but I can promise you, our demo that watches this, they don't care.
That is true. That's a good call. All right, I actually got to focus here. I got to watch this a little bit. We might have a win here, Trace.
Dougie's right. Dougie is right. Dougie is so. That's the best comment I've seen in a while. We deserve this, guys.
100%.
We do. We do deserve this. We 100% deserve this. Oh man, this team needs it. They need so much help. Oops, let me see what I can do here. All right.
I'm keeping up with the score here. We gotta correct J-Bar.
I didn't say we didn't. I didn't say we didn't.
See, I told you, my wife just texted me, your clothes were legit the first thing I noticed, and I was so annoyed. So, like,
so
you, man.
Got yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Don't get me in
on.
trouble here, Trace, by going wide without giving me a heads up. All right, come on, Friedel. Come on.
Man.
Are you at 1-0 here?
What's that? No.
Oh! Heim pulled to Tyler Stevenson. Too soon?
Too soon.
All right.
I don't know where you're at. I'm obviously not on cable, so I'm probably behind you.
Well, J-Bar's ahead of you. That's the good news. We got a runner on second.
Oh God. The J-Bar's ahead of me. This isn't good.
I'm clicking faster than you can watch it.
All right, I think I'm a little closer.
There's no
than
way
I
I'm
was
going to be
before.
able to.
That's not a. He went for that.
Well, yeah, we deserve that after that one Sinzel. That definitely should.
That was so bad.
That was such a good. There was no chance Sinzel was getting a hit either.
No,
I'd
that
be
was bad.
so pissed if I was a Rangers fan watching that guy walk next to Sinzel. Oh, Friedel. Like,
I mean, with all due respect, Friedel.
Is this the only time he's not going to get a bunt down? This guy's like the best bunter on the Reds in the last 10 years.
Listen, if he really believed in his abilities, he'd just lay down a bunt right now. And also, it almost looked like he was trying to bunt it towards first base, which obviously is not right. I could be wrong on that.
So the problem with the bunt here is they're gonna. Oh, the problem with the bunt here is they're gonna walk Steer and Stevenson, and you're gonna have Jake Fraley have to face a lefty. If you get this bunt, unless the Rangers are stupid.
Yeah,
Stevenson's out of the game.
Yeah, Stevenson's not in the game anymore.
But they're gonna walk Steer.
They'll definitely.
There you go. Get out!
You mean to tell me that I That's it. Good for us. Good for us, chat. Good for us, chat. All right. Good for TJ. Good for this team.
We're back.
Good for this team, baby.
All right, I can't wake up kids here. I gotta shut it.
Good boy. I mean, it's what a long time coming that was.
Whew.
Man.
Click that final, Trace. Let me click that final. Boom. Oh, not 6-6 though.
Go ahead. There you go.
It's been so long since we've won. I don't even know how to do the winning box score anymore. I forgot.
Oh.
There we go. There. Oh no, I did Texas. Oh man. Oh man. I'm in shambles over here. All right, start
Nick
the
came
track,
on the stream, had clothes all over the place, and the whole thing's gone to hell and back since.
Start the music. Let's refresh.
All right. Here we go. This is how you start a show, Nick.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the line, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did. He did. Reds win. Reds win. Line into right field. Genius, the first run ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line, doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves, throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right. We are back in the win column. I get to dunk a basketball tonight. I was a little concerned when I walked down the steps tonight that the ball was going to be flat by the time that I got around to dunking the next one. So the fact that we just won a baseball game where Nick Lodolo did not have his best stuff and did not, throw the ball all that well is a plus. I get it. We are probably still the same team we were yesterday, despite what happened tonight. But at this point, who cares? We're going to talk about the game as we always do, Nick. We'll do a box score recap. Lodolo, we'll get into him. Ramos, old Ramos. Everybody's out there on the old Bluebird just slaying my man, just dragging him down. I seen all the old boomers out there just look at the rebuild, bringing up a 31-year-old minor leaguer. I seen them all. I'm paying attention. He had a hell of an at-bat tonight. Abbott to AAA, and then Ashcraft extension talk. We'll get into that to the end of the show. Nick, your overall mood at this very moment, although you have clothes laying everywhere.
Well, hey, Trace, I'm doing well. Reds were down 5-1 and came back and won. My goodness, did we need this one tonight. The chat needed it. We all needed it. Let's have a good time. Let's celebrate this one. It's been a long week. It was a long 7 days. Still haven't hit a home run. Somehow they still haven't hit a home run in a week.
I mean, if you think about it, Nick, there's never been a team in Major League Baseball that's had a better record if they only lose 15 times in a season. So, I mean, there's still opportunities. You win out, you'll be talked about forever. Yep. But in all seriousness, I don't know if you want to run through the box score recap first, if you want to get into the Lodolo. I have a very hot take and or strong opinion that we'll probably get into that's not on the rundown, probably purposely from your sake. And I'm going to do my best not to overreact, but I'm going to overreact because it's getting tired and old, and it needs to be talked about. It needs to be said. And just because he's one of the shining cornerstone pieces that we all like doesn't mean he's not privy to getting criticized from time to time. So, box score recap. How you feel about it?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so top of the first, Nick Lodolo looked really great in the first inning, struck out the side. Bottom one, India leadoff double. Sketchy play defensively by Bubba Thompson, but he still got credit with a double. Got to third base on a wild pitch, but then TJ Friedel and Spencer Steer both struck out. But the Reds, they deserved a gift. They got a gift. Tyler Stevenson reached on an air to give the Reds a 1-0 lead. Top second, Nick Lodolo came out, struck out Adolis Garcia, 4 straight strikeouts to start the game. He was looking awesome, but then out of nowhere, he just started getting hit hard, left some pitches right over the middle of the plate. He ended up with a second straight game with a really rough line, 4 innings pitched, 9 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, struck out 6, but did allow 2 home runs. Bottom third, Reds were down 5-1 at this point, but they got 3 runs back. Steer had a 2 RBI triple. Then the Reds were able to get another run on a Stevenson RBI groundout. Reds bullpen tonight. Buck Farmer, Ian Jabot, Lucas Sims. Who was the last guy that pitched? Alexis Diaz all pitched scoreless innings. Only 1 hit allowed. No walks. Just an unbelievable night from the Reds bullpen against a really, really good Texas Rangers lineup. And then the Reds were able to get 2 runs, really nice at-bats with the bases loaded, 2 outs by Henry Ramos and Nick Senzel to draw walks, bases loaded walks against the Rangers. One of their closers, Jose Lecure, they kind of do a closer by committee, but he's one of their best arms. And then in the bottom of the 9th, you just saw it. Reds got a walk-off from TJ Friedel. Reds win 7-6. The losing streak's over. You gotta get it together, man.
I was trying like hell not to cry laughing during your monologue for the recap because I'm sure you worked hard on that, and it's not easy doing that. I tell you, it took me like 25 minutes one night on a relatively simple game. I was trying to do a good job, but I'm just reading the chat. I'm crying, laughing. I didn't want to ruin it for the podcast tomorrow, but hell, I got to tell you, man, if you're listening to this podcast in the mornings and you stay up, it's just around 9:30, 10 o'clock, you got to jump on the YouTube because the chat is elite. The chat's funny. They get it. I'm not even going to bore the people that listen to this in the morning on what's going on in the chat, but nonetheless, I find it absolutely hysterical, and my eyes are watering. All right, let's get into it. Lodolo struggles. It's a situation now where I'm not going to hit the panic button. However, back-to-back starts now where he has been hit pretty hard. I wouldn't even call it bad luck. You know, it's one of those things where it's not like it was a couple broken bats here, a couple broken bats there. No, people are hitting the ball hard on him. People on Twitter and obviously the circles around this Reds team of fandom is wondering if he's tipping his pitches. That seems to be always the common thing that you go to if some guy's starting to get hit a little bit. I don't know if it's that as much as it is just the ability for him to try to throw that slider for a strike on a consistent basis. And again, I'm not going to freak out over that as much as maybe some would. I don't know how you feel about it, Nick, but I kind of want to see him struggle maybe 2 more times in a row before I start hitting the panic button. I don't know. I mean, I get why people are concerned, but you know, your overall thoughts on it, and maybe there's some science behind it. He's not throwing as hard. Maybe people suggested maybe he's not, telling the Reds something where he's not feeling great or he's hurt. And sometimes baseball's hard, and guys are big league hitters, and they hit balls hard off of you.
Yeah, I mean, this is Lodolo's 24th career start, so some of the strikeouts in the first inning, I noticed, like, these were pitches that were very hittable pitches that somehow he was still able to fool them on. Just that's how good he is, that he was even missing his spots, leaving pitches right over the middle, and still got some strikeouts. So I just think his location was off tonight. He's got to have a little bit more pinpoint accuracy. I have zero concern over Nick Lodolo at this point. I'm more concerned with I don't know, Will Myers. Like, I don't even, are we even concerned about him because he's not going to be a part of this team?
I'm not. I mean, you heard my opinion on him earlier. I'm not. Let's see here. I want to also say thank you for checking in every single night. We really do appreciate the fact that you come and hang out with us, and we have fun together every single night. Invite a friend. Hit the like button if you don't mind, too. If you got a second, hit the like button for us. Let's move into... I guess let's move into the next topic, if you will, the Ramos Vossler. They made that move. We said they needed to do something. You hinted at the fact that it was going to be Ramos, and he was deserving. I mean, you had mentioned that if he didn't get suspended, there's a good chance that he probably makes the opening day roster. And he produced tonight. I mean, you can say whatever you want. He had a couple great at bats. Is it going to be, as we said before, is it going to change the outlook of this team dramatically? No. But it is nice to see you shake it up a little bit, and next thing you know, the bats come alive. And maybe that's coincidental. To be fair, that could be coincidental that you throw some new guy in the lineup, and the next thing you know, we start scoring some runs. But I would like to think, just for my own health, that it wasn't coincidental, and that shake-up's what we needed to get the bats going. Because although I know the topic isn't offense per se, I'm not saying he's the only reason that provided a spark to score some runs, but we needed it.
Just got called Chatterbox Schefter. I mean, that's wow. Pretty high praise there.
It's high praise. Speaking of Adam Schefter, don't you like the fact that Rogers told him to lose his number and then he breaks the story? Now that's funny. But anyway, I diverged to go back to Reds talk.
Was there football stuff that happened today?
Not a whole lot. No, there's not a whole lot going on this week in football, to be honest. Do you have anything else to add with Ramos, Vossler?
Yeah. Look, I'm excited to give him a chance. This is going to be a year where you're going to throw some crap on the wall and see what sticks. Not saying Henry Ramos is crap. Sorry, Henry. But look, you're giving this guy a chance. He's deserving of a chance. He played really, really well in spring training. When we had C-Tren on, he thought Henry Ramos was going to make the team. So I think that he was going to make the team had he not got suspended. He played well in AAA. Has some legit pop. Jason Vossler, you know what? Hey, I hope that he accepts a trip to Louisville. I hope the Reds can keep him as depth. We saw some good things. We liked Jason Vossler the first week. We saw some positive things with him. I think he'd be fine to keep in the organization. But he didn't produce, and he had plenty of chances. And so you bring in the next guy, and I like that they made this move. I didn't think you need to rush up Matt McLean to put a cap to stop the water from leaking, because it's not going to stop anything. It's just going to, appease people. But yeah, he had a hell of an at-bat, Henry Ramos. One of the best at-bats I've seen all year. He took some really tough pitches in that at-bat, and with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and really extended the game and gave the Reds a chance in this game.
Yeah, Hoosier Daddy points out that that you needed to calm down a little bit with Vossler. I know you were going to great lengths right there to defend him, and that's all good and well, but he struggled pretty badly after that first week, and that's why I said I'll always be appreciative of what he did in the first week, and then that's really where everything ends. And I also want to say something to Hoosier Daddy really quickly. Vossler's Linsanity stint is over. That's actually disrespectful to Linsanity. Linsanity actually had a pretty lengthy run. Let's not be disrespectful to Linsanity, okay? That's all I got on that topic. That's not to say that that's not a topic worth conversating over, but I know one that is worth conversating over, and that's the fact that we don't have a catcher right now. And you might say we have 3, but we have 0. And that's where we're at. We got a catcher that can't catch, but can hit. We got another catcher that can barely not hit and maybe catch. And then we got a catcher who can catch really well, but he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. So that's where we're at. Your overall thoughts on that?
I think Kirk Sally's a legit backup catcher.
That's the guy in the middle there that I was talking about, if you couldn't tell.
I think he's the legit piece of that. I don't know about Tyler Stevenson. Like I said yesterday, he didn't play a lot last year, so I don't want to overreact to 3 weeks of the season, but he's looked really, really bad behind the plate. There's no denying that. He's got to be better to stick, but he's not. He has a 672 OPS right now. That doesn't scream first baseman to me in the big leagues either. So
he's been terrible at the plate too, but I think I was trying to give him a little bit of a break by saying he's a good hitter just because he's shown the fact that he's been a good hitter in the past.
Can you believe that? I think they said on the broadcast that he had a 12-game on base streak coming to this game, and so he got on base today, so I guess he's up to a 13-game on base streak, but he really hasn't been that good. Isn't that really wild to think about?
Yeah. I mean, some of that is just pure luck too. I mean, that whole quote unquote streak thing, like today, I mean, by the way, who's running the book down there at Great American Ballpark? I mean, with all due respect, they got do they just pick a kid out 10 years or younger that come in the ballpark and to ask him hey, you want some free popcorn? We'll put you up in the booth and you can tell us if you think it's a hit or an error. I mean, that ball that Stevenson hit at the beginning of the game was about as easy of an error that I've ever seen. And I know they changed it. I know what you're going to say, Nick. I seen you. They're they changed it. Yeah, that's because somebody came back up in the booth and was like, whoa, what happened in the first inning? Who's keeping track of this stuff? I mean, seriously. And I'm sure the guy that does it is a very nice guy. If I run into him, my apologies in advance. But my gosh, we need to find him a better occupation. If they even get paid enough to make that an occupation, I don't know.
Nathan Eovaldi's father called Great American Ballpark and said, "What the hell are you doing? That is not a hit. You are not giving my son an earned run. Get out of here."
I 100% agree with him. It was a bad call. I don't know. But they did fix it. That's nonetheless. Back to the main point, which is, am I ready to go and scream to the rooftops that Tyler Stevenson can't catch? No, but I'm damn close. I'm getting to the point now where if it doesn't start to change a little bit, I'm starting to look at the fact that, that's another area of need. I don't see Tyler Stevenson, especially the way that he's caught at the beginning of the season. To be fair to him, maybe he can vastly improve. I just don't see it physically. I guess it's one of those things when I watch a guy like Jose Barrero play shortstop. Yes, he makes errors. Yes, there's times where he doesn't make the play that he needs to make. But when I watch him, I think to myself, I can see it in him. He has the ability to make these plays. It's just a matter of whether or not he can put it together to do it. Physically, he's gifted enough to do it. Tyler Stevenson, I'm here to tell you, I don't know if he's got it in him or not. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I see you, sir, boy. I get it. We want to celebrate that we won. I'm not here to say that we shouldn't celebrate. In fact, I'll do something for you right now, sir, boy, when I give the microphone back to Nick. But I'm just telling you, it's cause for concern, people. It is cause for concern. So as much as I want to be optimistic, and I am, I also want to be realistic and just say that's a glaring issue right now because we got away with a couple big situations that happened behind the plate. One of them was the pass ball. I mean, that allowed the guy to get to third base. An easy fly ball would have scored him from third, and the next thing you know, we might not have won this game. But that's the difference between playoff baseball and winning and not. But that's here nor there.
I think that's fair. I think that the two biggest questions right now on the Reds' active roster is Tyler Stevenson and Jonathan India's defense. I think if you are, worried about anything, it's those two guys and how they can stick. And I'll tease myself here. I wrote a little article for Cincy Magazine that'll be coming out, and that was the one thing that I put in there the most, I think, held those two guys back from contract extensions is their defense. But Trace, I'm seeing a lot on Nick Senzel, and I think that's a fair talking point tonight. I know he had the walk with the bait. Oh, we're really celebrating tonight.
That's for you, sir, boy. And I think someone in the chat earlier said pop one open, so I will. You know what? Why not? These only come around once a week. That 24-pack will get me through the All-Star break.
But I'll say it. I'll say it.
I'm listening.
I'm the most optimistic Reds fan out there. I'm sick of watching Nick Senzel bat. That's the one thing that annoys me the most of every Reds game I turn on. I can watch just about everything else. Luis Cessa starting doesn't really bother me. And I'm not even against them giving Nick Senzel at bats, but that's the most just makes me want to pull my hair out is watching him hit. Because I feel like anytime he gets a hit, it's a mistake.
All right. I'm going to look something up here just really quickly on Nick. Before I make an irrational decision on what I'm going to say. I know you're out on Nick, and if you're out on Nick, that's pretty damning considering you just gave rave reviews for a guy named Vossler who couldn't hit a baseball to save his life.
There is no doubt in my mind that if you gave Jason Vossler and Nick Senzel 500 at-bats, that Jason Vossler would have a higher OPS.
All right.
There is no doubt in my mind.
So we're 28 years old. I don't know. I think at this point Nick Senzel is in a position where he should be given maybe a couple more months to figure out whether or not he can figure it out. I mean, I know I get that he's already been given these opportunities before, but he's also been hurt, man. I mean, the guy's been hurt like, vast majority of his career. And if you want to be positive or have an optimistic outlook on Nick right now, I would say that, he's come back and he stayed healthy for a couple weeks. I know that sounds, and I'm laughing. I don't mean it like that. I know it sounds like I'm trying to be funny and an asshole about that. Excuse my language. This is a kid's show. I'm not, but I'm just saying, like, it is kind of nice to see Senzel not be hurt. That's the best thing I could say about him right now.
Yeah, I mean, and some of it's Will Benson's fault that he was just awful at the plate. Because if Will Benson would have hit, Nick Senzel wouldn't be starting, at least against right-handed pitching. So, I mean, most of the only reason he started is because Will Benson, couldn't hit.
You think Andrew Abbott is going to get an opportunity for the Reds before the trade deadline?
I would, if I was betting, yes. I mean, it's just going to depend. I mean, does he go to AAA and dominate? If he goes AAA and dominate, he might be up here in 2 weeks. He may only make 2 or 3 starts in AAA. Yeah. But if he struggles, I mean, that's going to, push him back a little ways. But I would definitely expect to see Andrew Abbott this year. If I was betting, I'd say he is up before the trade deadline. Man, he looks great. That's going to be a fun. I tell you what, you give me. And they all have to stay healthy, so that's a big if. But you give me Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft, Luke Weaver, who I liked what I saw in Pittsburgh, and Andrew Abbott. Those are 5 dudes I'm pretty interested in watching pitch every night. They may not all be great right now, but there's definitely some serious upside in all 5 of those guys. So it's at least a fun rotation, if anything else.
I agree. It's entertainment for us. That's what we're looking for at this point. Question is whether or not they're going to feel like they're quote unquote ready. Alex Wallace asked a good question. He said, "Who comes up first, Abbott or Ellie?" Yeah,
I would say Abbott. I would.
I think that this Reds fan base, many of them, I get why they are screaming and yelling and typing all capital letters on the internet about wanting McLean to the big leagues. I get it. I think I said it on one of the first shows that we did, that I genuinely think that McLean is a big leaguer. However, I also understand why you could make the case that he's not been at the lower levels enough to prove that without any certain of doubt, if you will. I also think, and I do believe, that I don't know if we want to call up, hear me out on this, chat, and hear me out on this as a fan base. I don't know. The more I thought about this, I don't know if we want McLean to come up in a situation like we're in right now anyways, do we? I mean, do we want him to come up where this team is struggling incredibly poor? I mean, they're struggling about as bad as a team could struggle. And then when he comes up, there's going to be, without question, unrealistic expectations on him from a fan base. Now, whether that should matter or not, I don't know. But I would like to try to get him in an environment, like I said before, with Ellie, with CES, that they expect to win, and they do win, and they kind of develop this winning attitude and this winning culture together, and they kind of are like the brothers, if you will, when they walk into the park and play some street ball. That those brothers have played with each other for so long that they don't care who's out there. If they're playing 2-on-2 with anybody, they feel like they're going to win. They might not always win, but they genuinely think they're going to win. So that's what I would hope happens for this core group of guys that come up. And I just don't know I don't think, and again, I'm pretty steadfast in believing this, I don't think the answer is bringing guys up to play a position that you don't expect them to play in a year and a half from now or a year from now when said components are put together to try to win baseball games that matter. That's my main point. So if Matt McLean is, in Nick Kral's opinion, a second baseman for the future, and David Bell thinks that he's going to be a second baseman for this team in the future, then he needs to play second base, Nick. Like, just because there's a hole at the big league level that he could possibly fill, like oh, bring him up, he could play left field, or bring him up, he could play shortstop. I don't believe in that. I really don't believe in that at all. I genuinely think that what the Reds are doing right now is intelligent, despite what everybody wants to say. And I seen the words of Cowboy. I seen that he said that they needed to bring up McLean. He even had the audacity. I think I read this. I'm not putting this in the Cowboys' mouth, but if he uttered the idea of Ellie De La Cruz playing some center field just so all these guys get experience at different positions, I disagree with that about as much as you could possibly disagree with anything. I'm tired of moving guys that are supposedly the best at what said position is. That's the end of my quote-unquote mini rant, by the way.
Yeah, I like Cowboy, but he was on the radio the other day complaining about shifts and saying we should stop shifting. So I don't know about that, but
he's just tired of watching this damn team lose about a billion games every year, and he's probably mad. I mean, I don't blame him. He's mad at the world. Yeah. He's got to walk into his office every day and look at that team.
But yeah, I don't think Jose Barrero deserves to be benched yet. He's made some improvements at the plate. He looked really great in the field tonight. Had maybe his best defensive game of the year. So he's shown some signs of life that I want to see a little bit more out of Jose Barrero. The big question, I'm not number one. Also, I'm not moving Spencer Steer off third base right now. I think he needs to continue to play third base. The big question is, what are the Reds doing with Jonathan India? And we don't know that. We have no idea what their plan is with Jonathan India, but I think there's some sort of plan. I don't know if the plan was they told Jonathan India before the season, this is your last chance to play second base. We're going to run you out there for however long, and if we don't see improvements, we're moving you to somewhere else. So if that's part of the plan, then you're not going to call it Matt McLean mid-plan and tick off Jonathan India because you already said you were going to do this. We don't know. Maybe they're considering trading Jonathan India at the trade deadline. I don't think that's the case, but is that an option? Maybe. So we don't know what the plan is with Jonathan India. So yeah, I mean,
it's tough. I mean, it's really a tough spot, and I think it's fair to say that we as Reds fans can love Jonathan India, but also understand why the Reds would trade him. I mean, both can be true, and I don't know why it's always like if you think that trading somebody is an option, then it automatically means that you dislike that player or you think that player is not worthwhile on your team. That's the farthest thing from the truth. However, you always have desperation mode at the end of every deadline. There's always going to be teams that are reaching. You're going to get more in return at the deadline than you'll ever get at any point in the season. And the Reds have done a good job trading guys away and getting pieces back. Where would we be right now if we didn't have Spencer Steer and Christian Encarnacion Strand? Now, we don't know if CES is going to end up being a guy like he looked in spring training. Rightfully, he probably won't. But imagine if we didn't have those two guys.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Luis Castillo, one of my favorite Reds pitchers of all time, but you had to trade him. It just based on where you were, you had to. I don't think that would have been a smart business decision to try to keep him with where the Reds were. They needed to restock their farm system, and they did. And I think in a couple years, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that was a pretty smart move when Noelvi Marte is an all-star and Edwin Arroyo is a contributor. I
mean, here's the thing, and I get the chat gets a little antsy about this topic about India. We're not in a situation right now where we need to make a big deal about this. However, we as an organization, I say we, the Reds, as an organization, need to try to sell guys at their peak value when it makes sense. And right now, I may be pessimistic in saying this. Listen, I'm the one that signed up with you, Nick. You know, and I like you, but I'm the one that signed up to do this every single night. And I truly believe that we're 2 years away from playing baseball in which I think you could win something relatively meaningful. And I'm not saying going to the playoffs isn't meaningful. It would be. I think next year maybe they can make a push if everything goes perfect or goes is about as well as one could hope. But in 2 years from now, Jonathan India, like it or not, probably only helps us for, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but 1 or 2 more years. I'm not going to get down in the weeds of the India trading deadline thing, but I am just saying that, as a fan base, you got to be relatively somewhat thoughtful of this idea that if Jonathan India is playing unbelievable, you're going to get probably an incredible return for him. And the amount of surplus that we have coming up through the farm system below him, you would like to think that we're going to get something close to India's production. And that might not be the case. We could trade Jonathan India away. Matt McLean doesn't work out. Marte doesn't work out. Arroyo doesn't work out. And we're sitting here wondering why the world we got rid of this perennial all-star. That's possible too. But the only way that we can win as a Reds franchise, small market team, like it or not, the economics of baseball, is to just continue to turn over prospects and trade guys or move on from guys earlier than later. You have to side on the idea of getting rid of guys on the front end of something instead of the back end. And we've done the back end thing for far too long around here. So I know we didn't want to get into this India thing all night long, and we're not going to. Let's talk about other probably a little more pressing things, because India's not going anywhere anytime soon. The only time that's going to happen is at maybe this year's deadline. And the only way I would consider moving India, in my personal preference, is if you go to India and you have a conversation with him about moving positions, and he's steadfast that he doesn't want to move positions. So in my opinion, if he doesn't want to move positions, Nick, then I would move on. And Sirboy brings up a great point. Let's talk about the bullpen, Nick.
Yeah, let's. Hey, look at these ERAs. Buck Farmer 3.97, and he got off to a rough start. Ian Jabot 3.12. Lucas Sims, big fat 0.
Yep.
Alexis Diaz, he had that one unfortunate second inning of work in Philly that inflated his ERA. Mesa's 3.86. I mean, Buck Farmer today, 2 innings shutout. Yeah, the bullpen has pitched well. It just goes back to show you these guys aren't at their worst. They're not that bad. And when they're playing that well, they're not that good. It's always in the middle. What's your thoughts on this bullpen? I tell you, I think it's a solid bullpen right now.
I think this bullpen's solid.
Yeah.
And I would say this, for all the people at the beginning of the year that were absolutely screaming to hell and back saying that the bullpen's the only thing that we're missing to be competitive, they're completely wrong. I mean, they've been proven they've been wrong in the last few weeks, largely based off the fact that, as I've said before, this team has holes all over the lineup. You know, the bullpen is just not the issue. And I get why it was that way, because you lose a couple one-run games at the beginning of the year at a time in which everyone's paying attention, everyone's excited about the season. But the bullpen, if I had to rank the strengths of this team, you're going to hate what I'm going to say, but the bullpen's probably the second strength of the big three.
Yeah.
Right? Well, 4. We'll call it 4. Offense, your defense, your pitching, or your starting pitching, and then your bullpen. Of those 4, I think they're second.
I think defense is last.
Well, offense is giving them a run for their money. This past
they fought back. The offense has battled back to the cellar. One other thing I think we do need to mention, the top of the Reds lineup tonight, Jonathan India 1 for 3 with 3 walks. So he got on base 3 times. TJ Friedel had 2 hits, and then Spencer Steer had 2 hits as well. These guys have been the strength of this team all year, but yesterday they were 1 for 12. So it's really good for those guys that you really need, that have been the best guys this year, to really respond when you've had this just brutal stretch of offensive baseball. All 3 of those guys played really, really well tonight. Spencer Steer, 3 hard hit balls too, according to StatCast. So those 3 guys have been the really bright spot of this offense, and I think deserve a lot of praise for what they've been able to do.
We got a knowledgeable chat. Brian makes a really good point. He said the pen isn't terrible when they're rested. Yeah, I mean, this bullpen's been asked to throw a lot of innings. I mean, at the beginning of this year, they had a lot of stressful situations. The truth is that that even on opening day, when everybody wanted to crush the bullpen, blowing the game, I mean, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think that Green only went like 3 innings. So, you're asking the bullpen to go out there and give you 7 innings worth of what, 1 or 2 run baseball before they start getting complained about. That's a tall task. It's a difficult situation to be in. So I listen, this team is what it is, what they are, who they are. As we said before, if they lost this game tonight or they won this game, it probably doesn't change the total outlook of this team in this season. But it is nice as a fan base to be able to finally see your team win, and we should enjoy it. I don't think that we should sit around and pity in the fact that we're probably still not any good. Who cares? We got guys in the minor leagues that are going to help us. Now, how much they help us, we'll find out. But they're going to help us. I mean, they really, like, when people want to sit there and make fun of the fact of, I listened to Tom's show for a quick minute today, and I didn't get a chance to hear all of it, but, I think that if I'm the Reds franchise right now, I'm going to stay away from, and I don't know who made the comments of trust the process. It probably was David Bell if I had to guess, but I probably would stay away from that terminology. I don't think that you shouldn't ask the fan base to trust anything at this point. The PR school that goes on down there at Great American Ballpark probably is one that they should put back in the closet or back in the drawer and pull out a different type of book. But let's get back on track. And Andrew Abbott to AAA. I think he's in the big leagues by the trade deadline, if not sooner than that. He's been shoving. If he throws, honestly, Nick, in my opinion, if he goes out at AAA and he throws even remotely close to what he did at AA, 2 times, he's in the big leagues.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah,
When do you know? Do you know when he throws again off the top of your head? Go ahead. I'll give you a second to dig it up if you think you could pull that off or not. But I know he just got called up, so it might get mixed around with the days and whatnot. But
they don't even announce their starters ahead of time most of the time. They just kind of throw them together. I think he pitched on Thursday night. It was whatever night the Reds did not play last week, because I know I was actually able to kind of lock in. Whatever day the Reds had a day game during the week last week was when he pitched. I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's been awesome. And at one point of the bullpen, Reds haven't had an off day since April 6th, on top of all these short outings. So it's been day after day after day. And yeah, I think the bullpen's been just been really fantastic of late, and yeah, I mean, deserves a lot of credit for kind of keeping a lot of these games competitive. Even the games in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's never got blown out in any of those games.
No, they've been competitive.
They should have won a couple of those games. They could have just got a couple hits.
They got some gifts tonight too, if we're being quite frank. I mean, the Rangers. If you're a Rangers fan tonight, I tell you what, I'd like to see their chat. I mean, the first inning, it almost looked like they were trying to let the Reds score. It was like, let's see if we can't help these poor souls out. I mean, they must have I don't know. They must have gotten on Twitter and seen some of the banter on the Cincinnati Reds and thought, man, we're going to spot these guys a run. The Sun Field, though, to be fair, in left field at Great American Ballpark, let's do that for a minute. Great American Ballpark as a whole needs to change a little bit, right? Can we agree on that?
What do you want to change?
Well, one is you got to get rid of that Sun Field situation in left field. Like, and I guess you could say, like, how do you fix that now? Well, they should have thought through that just a little bit when they designed the ballpark, in my opinion. Like, it is so bad in left field that if the Reds ever do play in some meaningful baseball games in October, and the first inning comes around and there's a fly ball to left field like that happens today, I'm going to be royally upset if that goes against the Cincinnati Reds. The second thing is, it would be nice if somehow the fences got either moved back a little bit or extended some fences out in right field.
I like the fences the way they are. I know our guy Reds in 4 has been a massive advocate of moving the fences back and did some really good research on that as well. I think the Reds can use that to their advantage. I think it's going to be a lot easier for the Reds to try to get free agent hitters that are trying to reestablish their career to come play in Cincinnati.
We don't want that, though, do we, Nick?
I'm not talking. I'm talking.
You said to reestablish their careers.
I'm talking guys like Will Myers. I'm not talking.
I tell you right
bottom-
now, don't use him as an example. Give me a better one than him.
Will Myers in July.
Nah, stop with this July stuff.
It was June.
Can the chat help you out? Can the chat help you out, or can I give you a little bit more time to find somebody? Drury, here comes Alex, Brandon Drury.
I'm talking even maybe even higher up guys. Nick Castellanos is almost one. It's a different scale, but you were able to sign him, and that first contract was a very reasonable contract the Reds got for him. Yeah. Much better bargain than what Philly got. So like I think that really can help you, and I also don't think the Reds, if we're looking at free agents, I don't think they should be looking to go sign a bunch of pitchers, whether the fences are in or the fences are out, to these $200 million contracts, because I just don't think the Reds have the ability to stomach some of that risk.
What about bullpen guys?
Yeah, that might be tougher. But I also think we've also talked about the bullpen has to be something that is homegrown. The Reds have to have success from homegrown relievers. I don't think the Reds also have the ability to waste money on lottery ticket relievers. Okay. I personally think they could. They're better off with kind of how the fences and everything are. I'm not against adjusting a little bit, but I don't think it hurts the Reds.
Okay. Brian asks another good question. How much longer do we carry three catchers, Nick? Are we going to keep defending this too?
I don't. Does it matter?
Yeah, it matters. Yes, it matters. I mean, at the end of a game, okay, a couple things. Like, at the end of a game, I'd like to have some substance. What has my third catcher been doing every single other night? Genuinely. Nothing? Can I get an extra arm in the bullpen?
We got an elite bullpen right now. What are you talking about?
I said an extra arm out there. I didn't say that we needed to change it up. I just wanted an extra arm out there.
It's only going to look good when someone's hurt, and I don't want that to like happen. I don't want these guys to get hurt. But last year, I mean, the Reds catching situation was a complete dumpster fire when Tyler Stevenson got hurt. It was atrocious, and the Reds were embarrassed that their catching situation was that bad. They were calling up guys, and you thought Tyler Stevenson looked bad behind the plate. Some of these guys the Reds had up here for a couple games, it was awful. They couldn't even catch like a normal breaking ball. So it's just insurance with what they're trying to do with Stevenson throughout the year. But I'm surprised they played Stevenson as much as they have. I think if they had DH Stevenson, I think it probably would look a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to play him more catcher early in the year and then kind of stagger him off a little bit as the year goes on.
I'm guessing you're saying. I'm guessing you're. Do you think that Luke Malley is gonna get picked up or retire?
Yeah, I would think Luke Malley would get picked up. I think there's just so many teams that need catchers, that need decent catchers. I think that's.
I mean, that's a bold move by a team. They want to pick up a guy hitting $176 with 17 at bats this year.
17 at bats. Look at his numbers last year. He was like a okay hitter for a catcher.
Okay, he's a career 206 hitter, 260 on base percentage.
He's a catcher. I mean,
yeah. Just because you catch the ball back there doesn't mean you get to automatically hit 200.
He had an 82 OPS plus last year. 120. 121.
Are you bragging about a guy having an 82 OPS plus right now?
For a catcher, it's for a catcher. It's a much different grading scale. You're talking your other options are guys like Austin Romine that at 16, 19, 43, 17, 18. Those are all year after year after year. So like Luke Malley can hit a lot better than Austin Romine. I think that's the difference.
Is Casali such a piece of glass that he can't catch more games?
I don't know.
I mean, it's a tough spot to be in. I don't understand how we have to have 3 catchers. Let me ask you something, Nick. There's a guy that played in St. Louis for a long time. His name's Yadier Molina. I get that I'm comparing some people to maybe one of the greatest catchers of all time. But, I mean, why do we sit here and act like we need 3 of these guys? I mean, you want me to look up Yadier Molina and how many games he caught?
Please do.
I'm going to do it for you.
And while you're doing that, I'll count up how many guys caught games for Cincinnati last year.
Okay.
It was a lot. This is harder than I thought.
No, I mean, listen.
We had Aramis Garcia, Austin Romine, Michael Paperboy, Chucky Robinson, Mark Kolarski, Chris Oakey. These guys all caught games. That's how many catcher injuries there were last year. It just somehow they haven't had one the first 3 weeks of the season.
So without looking this up, Nick, I venture to say that you could call guys up that are in AAA that catch, right? I mean, who's the bats catcher?
I think it's Chucky Robinson.
All
but
right, so
the Reds
Chucky
did that. The Reds did that last year, and it was awful. And they want to protect. They want to protect their starting pitchers with decent catchers.
Okay, saved yourself a little bit there.
I mean, that's part of the plan is, I think, twofold. It's you want decent catchers to catch Green, Lodolo, Ashcraft, and Abbott, and whoever else you call up, guys that you feel comfortable with behind the plate. And the other part is to preserve Stevenson. I don't think this is costing the Reds as many games as everyone thinks it is.
I'm not saying it's
with a DH. If this was old National League rules, I think I would be a lot more on everyone else's side that this is a terrible strategy.
I just think it's wild that we had guys like Jason Vossler out here throwing baseball innings, which I get that it was a mop-up situation. But at the end of the day, I don't mind having an extra arm in the bullpen when I got a guy that has 17 at-bats this year with a career 260 on-base percentage. When I just looked it up, but Yadier Molina at age 49 years old. At age 49 years old, played in 270 games in one season, Nick. Or excuse me, not in one season. That's 270 at-bats. So he had 270 at-bats at age 39, not to try to be funny, but at age 39, he had 270 at-bats, and he played in 78 games. How many games do you think that Malley would have to play, or how many seasons would Malley have to play for the Cincinnati Reds to get to 78 games? 4?
You're using the most extreme example of this. Look at how many games Will Smith, one of the best catchers in baseball. Look at how many games he caught last year. Look at how many games JT Realmuto, the guy that is like the tough, he only, I think, caught like 120 games last year.
I'll look it up for you. I'll let you know.
He's 130. He played 120 complete games.
He played 139 games last year.
No, that you got to look at the fielding. That count pinch hits. He started 130 games at catcher last year. But Will Smith, I think, was like 115. Like, these catchers don't catch the same bulk load they do. And maybe there's something wrong with that. I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm guessing that these general managers across baseball have some sort of reasoning for why they're not having these guys catch 140, 150 games. And I think the only two that are doing that now is Yadier Molina and Salvador Perez are like the only two like unicorns from back then. Anyone coming up now isn't catching that many games.
So I have a little bit of a funny question for you then, I guess, was if, let's just say, I don't know, Kirk Casale decides to get lucky and decides he's going to have a baby at the end of the year and he needs to take a bereavement, are we going to bring a catcher up to replace him?
I hope so. No. I think we can go 3 days. We can go 3 days.
Think we can get away with a week without 3 catchers?
I think so. It'll be a real grind, but I have faith that David Bell will figure it out.
All right. I was just seeing how committed to the 3 catchers you were.
I don't really have this like strong affinity towards it. I just don't also, I'm not going to get upset about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's not a needle mover. Or
All right.
that's what we always say. It's not a needle mover.
Fair enough. Ashcraft extension.
I was surprised by this.
Thought he said he wasn't going to comment on it.
And then Bob, but not Bobby, Big Bob Nightingale reported that there is contract extension talks. So
I don't know if that's even the fact that you just said it was Big Bob. I'm not sure if I believe it anymore.
Yeah, it seems to track. I mean, with with Green and Lodolo. The more that I think about this, I like the idea of locking up the pitchers first, because I think Green, Ashcraft, and Lodolo are much less expendable than Jonathan India or Tyler Stevenson, with where the Reds are going in building a team.
If this is a trust tree, I think that I like Graham the most. I think I do.
If Graham Ashcraft turns out to be the best of those three traits, we're in for some real good years. That would be incredible. I like it.
I'm not suggesting that the other two can't be, good. I just like Graham. I there's something about his personality, coupled with the fact that he throws just one pitch that is elite. And there was a guy that was in New York that closed for that team for a really long time, war number 42, that had one pitch that was elite, and it worked for a really long time. And I think that's kind of where I hang my hat on with him. It's like, yeah, that pitch is coming, but I don't think I don't think that if he's throwing the ball relatively well, I think he's the best of the three. I really do. And I like Hunter too, and obviously Lodolo has been Lodolo outside these last two starts. But my main thing with Nick is he relies a lot more on his, what I would call his skill. He has to be precise to a certain extent. He's not really going to quote unquote overpower guys. If his slider is struggling a little bit, then I can see him having just, an off night, quite frankly. I think Graham's a competitor, and I think that he's one of those guys to where if they signed him to another deal like they did Hunter before they did Lodolo, I know there's a lot of people that would freak out being like, oh my gosh, how do you not get the lefty in Lodolo? I don't know. I like Ashcraft the most, personally. And you're right. He was of the three of them, he is the least shiniest toy to the public at the very beginning, right? He was the lower of the prospects, if you will. But I don't know. It's just like gut feeling I have.
Well, and he's a free agent a year later than the other two. On top of that, the Reds have an extra year of control with him. But yeah, I think it's impressive as hell that Graham Ashcraft has been better than Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. That's just a testament to all the work that he put in to get to this point, because I don't think he has the same talent level as those other two. But he's by far pitched the best. I could also see maybe you extend Graham Ashcraft. I think a Graham Ashcraft extension would probably be very team friendly. I think Graham Ashcraft, based on maybe where he's come from, might be more willing to, hey, I'm going to get some money while I know I can, more so than maybe even a guy like Nick Lodolo. But it might put a little bit of pressure on Nick Lodolo to sign a contract extension too. Hunter Green signed one, Graham Ashcraft signed one. Do I want to be the only odd man out here risking it? So it could also maybe play that way as well. But yeah, Graham Ashcraft's been awesome. I love watching. I mean, if anyone picks Nick Senzel, I feel like we need to boot them from the chat. Are you kidding me? Please, Nick Senzel, make me look like a fool tomorrow.
Yeah,
please. I beg of you. I beg of you,
that.
Nick Senzel.
Yeah, who's your daddy's on you saying that you love the Homer Bailey extension? I don't know if that's really a fair thing.
I did
talked
like
about
it.
the Homer. Yeah, I think the Homer Bailey thing in the past is a tough spot for the Reds to be in. It goes back to just the unluckiness that is sometimes the Cincinnati Reds. It's, I don't know. Do we want to get into that tonight, Nick, or not?
I'll make one quick point on that. I'd push back is how the Johnny Cueto contract worked out. That wasn't a good contract either. That would have been worse. That would have been more money. He didn't pitch very well. He was hurt the whole time. How about Matt Latos? Could you imagine if they would have signed Matt Latos to a $220 million contract or whatever he was looking at? The only guy of that starting pitching crop that turned out to be even remotely worth their contract was Mike Leake. And no one wanted to sign Mike Leake to a contract extension. So, yeah, I didn't have a problem with the Homer Bailey extension. I think the Reds may have learned some lessons with that. I think I might have learned some lessons with that, where you have to be really careful. If you ask me, would I do the Homer Bailey type contract extension now? I don't know. I'd be on the fence. I'd have to really, look into it. But signing Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Graham Ashcraft are much different contract extensions than that one was. But Homer Bailey was, I think, only like a year and a half away from free agency when he signed that contract. But these guys are still quite a bit away, and you're only adding 2 more years as opposed to Homer Bailey, where you were adding, 6 more years?
Yeah, here's the thing. The other thing, too, that's easy to play the Monday morning quarterback with the Homer Bailey situation was, I think the better question is should the Reds spend that much money on a starting pitcher, period? That's probably a little bit more, in my opinion, that's a little bit more of a fair criticism. The second thing about this whole thing is that let's not forget that Johnny Cueto just got hurt, wasn't able to start in said playoff game, and like it or not, but Homer Bailey of all of them, he looked the most dominant. He did his job about as well as you possibly could. He went out and shoved in Game 3. I know we don't want to go back to that series, and we're not going to because it's painful, but I completely understand why they did what they did and who they picked. All right, let's move on. So Reds win. That's a positive. That means one thing and one thing only. More than anything, it means that I get to dunk a basketball. So we will do that right here to end the show. Do we have any other questions, any other serious conversation topics that we might want to get into from a chat perspective here before we wrap things up? If we don't, we will see you guys obviously here tomorrow, because this is what we do. We do this after every single show, or every single game. There is a show, I should say. And, when the Reds win, this chat's funny and more fun. And when they lose, people show up anyways, because that's who we are. We're grinders. We're committed to this baseball team. And one day, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You see all these people in the chat? I have a memory like an elephant. I remember all these names. And as long as I don't get myself in trouble, I'm just going to start handing out wrenches all over the place when we're good. Like when the Reds are in the playoffs and we have a couple hundred people in this chat, without question, maybe thousands, who knows. I am going to go through the chat name, and every time I see somebody that's an OG, I'm just going to give them a wrench. We're going to have about 100 moderators. And we're going to say that if you want to block somebody, then block them, because they weren't here. They weren't here when it mattered the most. They weren't here when Henry Ramos had 2 unbelievable at-bats on April 24th of 2023.
Let's go.
Just saying. All right, Nick, your job is to tell everybody who pitches tomorrow. Who is that?
We got Luke Weaver back on the mound. I really liked what I saw Luke Weaver after he bounced back from that tough first inning in Pittsburgh. Excited to see what he can do again. He's only faced Texas one time in his career back in 2019, 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched. Real positive. Current Rangers, 26 at-bats against Weaver, only a .577 OPS. Reds will be going up against the lefty Martin Perez. He was an all-star last year. He's on a very expensive 1-year, $19.7 million deal. He has not faced the Reds since 2013. And the only Reds to have faced Martin Perez, Kirk Casale, Luke Maley, and Will Myers. And they are a combined 4 for 20.
Not great.
Respect.
Not horrible. Seen better. I've seen
For
worse.
against an all-star. Against an all-star.
Against an all-star. So we know how this goes, chat. We've been a part of this before. I'm gonna need Nick to do me a favor and clear the singular. He's got it. And this is how it goes. So if you're new to the chat, welcome. If you've been in this chat for a week, you probably don't know we do this. So let me introduce it to you. After every single Reds win, we dunk basketballs. There's a basketball hoop behind me. And I'm going to do my best to come up with some new trick every single night on how to dunk this basketball. And tonight, my plan is to do something that probably is going to make a fool of myself, which maybe I'll look in the chat. What do we want? What does the dunk want? We want 690s. I can't do a 690. They want 360s. That's too easy. 360s are a little too easy. I think we're just going to have to.
Split the difference.
We're just going to have to do something that just I'll make up as I go. All right? Fair. As always, I've said it once. I've said it 1,000 times. Please go rate and review Chatterbox Reds. Okay? It's a podcast. You can find it in the morning, every single morning. Listen to it. Enjoy it. Okay? Download it. Give it a rate. Give it a review. Review means you got to type out like a nice little thing you say, and then you hit submit. That's how that works. Okay? But here we go. We're going to dunk a basketball for everybody. This is for Henry Ramos. Ramos. That's a lead. Athleticism. Take care of yourselves, everybody.